Good morning. Hello, everyone. I am excited that everyone is here to join us today. We're excited to be able to have you join us around an open discussion around leadership in difficult times with Coffey Solberg. Coffey Solberg has been the Executive Director of Leadership Snohomish County for the past 8 years. She is also the CEO and community builder for her own company, Common Unity. Her work history demonstrates her skills in inspiring others through professional and personal leadership development, civic engagement, and a deeper understanding of racial equity as the lens to do that work. As a nonprofit leader, Coffey has, by necessity, developed skills in philanthropy, organizational development, group facilitation, and creative problem solving. Coffey's work embodies the core belief that whatever the problem, community is the answer. In everything that she does, Coffey knows that to build healthy communities, people must be empowered and united in working for the greater good. Coffey's experience on the board for the National Association of Leadership Programs, as well as the international communities she leads as part of the Warriors for the Human Spirit work with Meg Wheatley, has been key to shaping her view of how we are all part of the greater good and how our work impacts a community larger than ourselves. Please welcome Coffey.
Thanks, Penny. And I am grateful to be here today. We have I'm going to get the logistics out of the way and share my screen first, and then get this set up so I can possibly also see you. And okay, maybe that's not going to happen. Okay, so I'm going to lose you and continue with my presentation. And I'm going to ask for tech support first. When I do my share, I've lost the view option to have, usually with two screens, I can see in my second screen. Any idea how I can get to see the people in my second screen?
If you go to your share, there should be a little top bar, and your view option should be there as a drop down.
My view option.
Where your menu went, there should be where you can find your chat button. There should be view options in that as well.
Okay, well, I don't see it, so I'm going to move on. And I trust Penny with my life, so I'm going to trust her with letting me know what I need to do. So first of all, thanks for asking me to be here today. I love Child Strive. I value this work, and there certainly isn't a better topic to discuss than leadership in uncertain times right now. I'm taking a presentation that was a little longer and condensing it, so also bear with me as if I race through the second part as I try to cover this. So in these times, the world has provided us with the difficult times that we're going to talk about how to lead in. In the last couple of years, we've dealt with COVID, we've dealt with a race pandemic, and as I see it, to a large degree, we've had system collapse as the third leg of that stool for difficult times in our world. I am not one that in any way thinks that we can go back to a new normal. I love this quote by Sonia Renee Taylor saying that we can't go back to normal because normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal, other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We shouldn't long to return to that. We're being given this opportunity to stitch a new garment. Love that phrasing, one that fits all humanity and nature. And, oh, I can't even get my cursor to the, okay, so the three areas I'm going to focus on today are overwhelm, relationship with self, and then the nature of community. All of this through the lens of leading through difficult times. So the definition for overwhelm that I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to spend much time here, but I did. The first one that came up in the dictionary is burying or drowning beneath a huge mass. And I think that right now the world has really just put a collective trauma in front of us like I've never witnessed in my time. And overwhelm in general feels like frustration. It feels like you can never get ahead. It brings up guilt within us in that it's hard to say no. And most of us have our own internal standards that we want to live up to. And guilt comes in because it's hard to live up to our own standards as well as to say no. It's a feeling of inadequacy comes with this, never enough. Either we think we're not enough, there's not enough time, there's not enough, not enough. And I'll talk about a few fears that are induced. I'm going to skip this video, but I will put it up. It's just about being overwhelmed, and it's kind of cute, but with the time, I don't want to spend the time on this. It's really talking about when we're overwhelmed, we feel like we should be someone else, like it's not okay to not be okay. And as my friend Penny has on her t-shirt, it is okay to not be okay. And overwhelmed fears that come out are the fear of not being good enough, the fear of not belonging or fitting in. Our primal human need is to want to be loved, and overwhelm contributes to that. I won't be liked, I won't be loved. And then there's just a feeling like there's no way out. As a leader, I want to go over 5 different ways that we can manage this overwhelm. Looking at those, I'll offer 3 solutions for each. And the first one was pinpointing the source. So as you're showing up right now, ask yourself, what are 1 or 2 things that I can take off my plate that would alleviate 80% of the stress I'm feeling right now? And sometimes that can be finishing something and then moving that aside. It can be re-examining how you set goals, and I have a philosophy around goal setting that you should usually never have more than 5 and only have a couple. But in our society, we tend to take one step in 20 different directions and not get to have that sense of accomplishment. So look at the source of your stress and overwhelm. What can you take off your plate that'll eliminate some of that right now? Work with your boundaries. Know what your yes and no are. Don't take work home. I have practiced in this last year, which is new for me. I have weekends now, and when I leave work, I leave work. Know how you show up and know what your patterns are. And with that, I'm alluding to some work that Sari Gilman does locally. You can find her on sarigilman.com. But she really she's literally written the book on boundaries and talked about how we show up in one of these 7 patterns. So I'm a workaholic caretaker. I need to know who I am around these roles to be able to set those boundaries, to know what my yeses or nos are. So we'll talk about getting to know ourselves with that. And then challenging your perfectionism. Perfectionism skews our perception in a way where we're reaching for something that to many degrees is unattainable. The Facebook, Sharon had a saying, lost that connection to the quote, has a saying that is done is better than perfect. And for anyone that has those internal standards, that's a hard one. But when you stop and ask yourself, like, what is the marginal benefit? If I put 3 more hours into this, will the outcome be worth the time that I'm investing? So just really, procrastination is a form of acted out perfectionism. Just challenge that to see how much you're putting on yourself and re-examine that. And then delegating and outsourcing is a key to managing overwhelm. Know the best use of your time, know your strengths, practice letting go. And then finally, challenge your own assumptions. I know how there's a saying with this practice, compassion and curiosity, that if you haven't seen someone for 5 minutes, you don't truly know them. Ask questions. Where you don't know what happened to someone that's crabby, that's checking you out at the grocery store. Just assume that you don't know another person's story if they haven't told it to you. Own your systemic bias. All of my work ideas and assumptions are built on ideas that don't fit our world as we're showing up to be inclusive and remove barriers. And then know that control is a myth. There's a saying that if you try to control and enjoy anything, it's really counterintuitive because you can't enjoy when you're trying to control. And I believe that's true in a workplace too. So on managing the overwhelm, some simple thoughts that address the notion of overwhelm is finding ways to affirm that you are enough, separating yourself from the emotion, creating a routine of self-care, and simply breathing. And I have a daily meditation practice. It's only 10 minutes, but it really works to serve to ground me. On a good day, it might be 10 minutes more than once. But the most important one for me is separating yourself from the emotion. And when you are in a leadership role or really any role, if I were to say I was overwhelmed, that is labeling myself. That is making myself the emotion. And I say that I have overwhelm. I have anger. I have joy. I have frustration. And it allows me to notice what the feelings are that are overtaking me and causing anxiety, to separate me from the emotion. And that's probably been the most important thing as a leader, for a parent, as any individual, that I've done to not take my own self down through these last 2 years when everything seems to feel like it puts me into a place where I have overwhelm. So that's our first part, is overwhelm. Are there any questions? I can't see you and it feels a little odd.
There's not currently any questions in the chat.
Thank you, Penny.
You're welcome.
And then our next piece then is relationship with self. This quote from John Gardner, I think, bears hearing. We keep ourselves so busy, fill our lives with so many diversions, stuff our heads with so much knowledge, involve ourselves with so many people, and cover so much ground that we never have the time to probe the fearful and wonderful world within. By middle life, most of us are accomplished fugitives from ourselves. So I want to talk a little bit about showing up in relationship to yourself. We talk about the overwhelm. And now, how do we center in authenticity as a leader to lead in these times? I believe that self-knowledge is the key, and that when we take the time to know who we are, we have that compass to guide us in what we're best at. To know what our purpose is and to move forward. But until that time is spent with self, it's hard to build trust and have a clearly charted course that's really based on you as an individual. So,
Kathy?
Yeah.
We did have one comment just pop up around perfectionism, I believe. From Keith, it says software development asks, what is the minimum viable product that can be released? This is a way to avoid perfectionism. This concept is key to agile scrum methods. This concept can be applied to developing any type of, of work product. You can perform another iteration to make a better product later.
That is really freeing, and just knowing, and how true is that with software, just to minimum viable product. Thanks for sharing that, because I think every software program version, Windows 10, it's a great thought to, I've never sat with that, but it is a great thought for giving yourself permission to put your best forward. That's the best that you have right then. You don't know what you don't know. Thank you. So then with the leading with authenticity, we move on. This is a self-development model that is from Richard Boyatis, and it is just a process for who do I want to be? Who am I right now? And I saw that someone mentioned the strengths. I'm a big believer in strength-based leadership. It's helped me be a better boss by understanding. I had an employee once whose number one strength was input, and I thought I was giving her the freedom to create, and she really needed that input. And for individuals aligning with this authentic self, who am I? And to be our best, it really is taking this time to explore it so we can use the gifts that we've been given, and then also empower others to do the things that we aren't the best at. My last piece is community, and I have community is sort of my passion in work. And I at one time looked at the word and saw common unity as the roots of this word. I'm not sure why everybody should see, didn't see that, or why it was so new to me. And as leaders, it's essential that we know that we're not alone. And I believe that when we stop to ask ourselves, what do we have in common with others, and then figure out how to find a place of connection. Mary in the initial section said one of her favorite quotes from Meg Wheatley was, whatever we're talking about, community is the answer. I'm a firm believer of that. And for me, there's 4 different kinds of community. There's a connection of mind, which is giving me permission to ask questions and have dialogue and discussion with other people and allowing me to be curious. There is a connection of spirit that broadens my sense of self and lets me understand place and meaning in this world. There is the connection of citizen, and that lets me join with other people to exponentially increase the impact that I can have by myself. And then there's the element of people, which reminds me that I'm not alone and that others that are here that I care for and that care for me. And so another Meg Wheatley quote to stick on this role is that the instinct of community isn't peculiar to humans. It crosses all life forms, from microbes to the most complex of species. And through our biological roots, we are wired to be more than isolated individuals. So this last year has done just that. It's made us isolated individuals. So when we're talking about leading in difficult times, there's never been a time, like I said before, that I've witnessed such a collective impact, or that so many people have become so isolated. And now we're talking about, how do we come back? How do we come back to work? How do we get into a community? So I have a couple ideas on how to build community that I want to share. And one is to realize, as you look around you, you're already part of a community, whether it's being in this Zoom room right now, or a church you go to, or a parent group you're part of. And community isn't easy. You have to reach out. You have to be a part of that, and it's participatory by nature. You have to be your own community first. And so often, many of us, because of that need to be connected to each other, if we haven't done that self-work I was talking about, then we're looking to fill a hole that it's not reasonable that we ask other people to fill. So you have to get to that place where you understand the difference, that being alone isn't lonely, and to a degree, be your own community first. Trust that we talked about, from being authentic and showing up in that way, is fundamental. And there's a book by Priya Parker called Gathering. And she says that whenever you gather with others, whether you're having a business meeting, whether you're building a community, you have an interest group, a book club, let purpose be your bouncer. And I think that's a great line. You have to have purpose for spending your time. And then you have to participate. And that is where the reward comes in. And just also taking the pieces of going back to compassion and curiosity. Understand that participation looks different for everybody. Introverts often participate with more of a listening than a speaking. Extroverts often are more speakers and need to learn sometimes how to be more listeners. Different cultures have different ways of gathering in community and different ways of defining that participation, but you have to participate. So I am going to just kind of stop right here and see if there's any thoughts, questions, comments.
We did have a comment come up from Tiffany. She stated she loves the Strengths Finder also, and that she made a recommendation of sounds like a book, Multipliers, How the Best Leaders Make Everyone Smarter. Comment from Melissa: appreciate the statement that alone doesn't mean lonely, and that participation looks different for everyone.
Thanks. I have a few slides I could do for self-care, or we could, is there anything related to leadership in these times that anyone wants to talk about? And I can turn the screen off, or would you prefer to review a 2, 5, and 30-minute self-care thoughts?
Feel free, if you have a preference, to type it in really quick in the chat, and we can see if we can make a decision if there's a preference in the group. I think at this point we only have a couple minutes though, so yeah.
Okay, I am going to just go through real quick and turn it back to Penny, but show if just some quick ways during this time. If you have 2 minutes, there's something you can do to take care of yourself. You can breathe, stretch, daydream, acknowledge your accomplishments, say no. That's just pretty quick. The process isn't quick. Read a poem. If you have 5 minutes, cry, listen to music, have a chat. Sing out loud. My coworker Nelia has suggested that I dance in 5 minutes, and it can really change your mood. And if you have 10 minutes, take some time, evaluate your day, call a friend, just tidy up one little portion of your life. Just do something to take care of you. And I will stop and turn it back to Penny, and just thank you for your time, for being here to support Child Strive today, and for asking me to be a part of your day.
I have to agree with the whole dancing thing. I've danced in the middle of the woods in a hike before, so it definitely improves your mood. So thank you all for joining us for this session. We are so grateful to have Coffey with us here today. Today's virtual conversation is a benefit in support of Child Strive and the work that we do in the community to make a difference in the lives of young families. To help us continue our important work, we ask that you consider making a gift.